Freehold doesn't mean that all freehold you buy is definitely a better buy than a 99 years. They don't have income. So how to buy landed? I was able to help them buy a landed. They tend to use a large amount of the CPF to clear their loan.
Have you ever had a client who was about to make a decision that would have cost them significantly, and you stepped in and reframed the whole thing? What happened?
Okay, I remember a case, but I won't call this exactly a client because in the end, after my advice, they didn't buy and sell any property. Okay, so how it goes was, this was in 2018. Again, it was before COVID. Quite a number of all this happened quite a while ago. So it was just someone that contacted me. I can't remember, some time ago. I can't remember how he got to contact me, but I went to their HDB 5-room flat in Edgefield, Punggol. So had a more than 2 hours consultation with them. And what happened was this. He bought the HDB in 2012, where the market was in the previous high. And he paid, if I'm not wrong, he paid about 660,000 back then, 650 or 660,000, can't exactly remember the number, but definitely in the mid 600k 5-room flat in Punggol. And what happened later was that in 2018, which was already past the MOP, the wife, they were in the 50s, and then the wife's health wasn't so good, and then she had to quit her job, and the husband was thinking that, now with one less income, it's a bit hard to support the repayment of the monthly mortgage. And he decided to just sell his 5-room flat, thinking that if he downsized to a 4-room flat, he can cash out some money. So, to relieve the amount of monthly installment as well as also to have some money from the. But unknown to him, when I did the indicative valuation for him, and I showed him the market transaction at 2018, the valuation for his HDB then was about 570, 580. So he was saying that, can we fetch 600? I said, of course we can try, but not that his house is in a very good, beautiful, renovated condition. But I said, we can always try. But in the end, it won't go too far. And the key thing is that you never cover the price he bought at 650 or 660. And for sure, it will definitely be a negative sale for him. Not to mention that he used definitely 6-digit CPF money that he have to come up with and have to return back to his CPF. And at the juncture, when you use so much CPF, you return back to CPF, the wife was already over 55. So that CPF will have to be partially locked up in the retirement account. What that means is that they have even lesser CPF to use for the next 4-room flat purchase. Right? I remember the wife was older, so was over 55. He was just below 55 at that point in time. And so I did the calculation for him and told him that, hey, after you sell your 5-room flat, you have a negative sale of 70k, 70k, and then you have to pay back your CPF compounded interest. That leaves you with even lesser cash. You have to top up, in fact. But of course, we can write appeal to inform CPF that we're selling at this price and then to waive off the return of the CPF interest. But even so, he have to come up with the difference in terms of price. And not just that, he will have to come up with his own savings to pay for the next HDB 4-room flat because some of the CPF from the wife is topped up. So what happened for his case is that I told him, why not? Since you have a 5-room flat, there's only 3 of you. You may want to consider doing room rental to relieve your financial load in terms of monthly installment, so that you can get some rental. Maybe you can do some simple, cheaper partition for a part of your living room or one of your bedroom. Since there's only 3 of them, they only need 2 bedrooms, so they can actually rent out, their rooms for extra income. So after 2.5 hours, he also apologetic to me for so-called, he was saying, Jason, I'm so sorry to waste your time. But actually, it's not wasting time. I was just giving him the clarity he needs to, move ahead. So this was one very stark case study that I came across, that I advised him in the right way. And in fact, he told me he did meet 2 other agents then, and he was like almost ready to sell the house. It's just that, he just want another opinion. So after this, he was so grateful at the door when I was leaving. Yeah, that he said it. Seriously, he can't imagine what would have happened if he had just go through another person and sell off his HDB. He will be put in that tight spot where he can't buy the next house. Yeah.
The Singapore new launch market has been extremely active lately. But there's a growing camp that says resale condos offer better value right now. So, where do you stand? And more importantly, how do you help clients decide which one is right for them?
Well, just now I mentioned that there's this OPTEC framework I use, okay? So this OPTEC framework I use, so the answer to your question is that it depends. Because for OPTEC, what it means is first I understand the client's objective, O, okay? For P is priorities, and T is of course their timeline. So I need to understand these three things in order to customize and plan a suitable plan for their needs. And I'm sure you know that no one person is the same, no one family is the same. Everybody has different priorities, goals, and needs. So this is where I won't be able to give a one-size-fits-all answer. So it really depends on the situation. Yeah.
That's interesting. Let's dig into that a bit. When you're evaluating a new launch project with a client, what are the 2 or 3 things that most buyers overlook? Things that could significantly affect exit demand or capital appreciation 5 to 10 years down the road.
In terms of evaluation, I think a lot of buyers for new launch underestimated or missed out thinking ahead on supply and demand of that certain property that they are looking at. Of course, they will look at things like MRT, malls. If you're in an MRT and a mall or good schools, most of the time you can't go wrong. But what about other properties that are not near MRT, no malls? Doesn't mean that everybody that going to buy a property has to be, I need to be next to MRT, next to mall. One thing is the price. If you're next to MRT, next to a mall, obviously the price will be more expensive, right? Or maybe all those mixed development. But not every property is having that same characteristic, where you won't be wrong. So when you need to evaluate any other property, the key thing is look at the existing or future supply of the area, as well as the demand, and where are the demand coming from. So this is something that a lot of buyers, when making the decision, they overlook the supply and demand aspect. And there's a method to take a deeper look into how to assess the supply and demand of the area, using demographics, using transactions, comparables in the area, and as well as looking at what are the existing supply and demand and the volume. So this can actually gives you a better idea whether should you buy into a property. I'm talking about not near MRT and more. Is there any other future potential for the property appreciate? Yeah, this is something I think is important to consider as well.
Okay. Now you mentioned something earlier that I want to come back to, the OPTEC Framework. For the audience watching, can you walk us through it in 60 seconds? What it stands for and why you built it?
Okay, so I mentioned just now, O stands for objectives. Okay, families' objective, what do they want, why are they even thinking of selling or buying, or why even they are buying this property in a certain location, why that location. So that's the objective, right? What do they want out of it? Do they want to make money, or do they, doesn't matter, money making is, secondary, they just want to be near their parents, they just want to be near the school, whatever reason, right? Objectives. And priorities, it's somehow, it's different. Priorities is, I need to be near the parents, objectives maybe they want to make money, things like that. So second one is priorities, they have to make sure that the children can walk to school, things like that. Third one will be timeline, right? Timeline. And that is also covered in the earlier question of how I engineer and help the clients plan the timeline in selling and buying. And then the fourth one is evaluation. Evaluating what? Evaluating the financial circumstances and status of, just now the example I mentioned about the foreign husband buying a landed house. So that is also a part of the evaluation. So every client that I come across in our first or second meeting will definitely go into that to assess their affordability and whether it's a safe move and what are the risks for them. These are evaluation. All the way until choosing which property to buy are also evaluation. Why property A over property B or property C? Evaluating all the different aspects and of course the future potential, supply and demand as I mentioned. All these are under the E, evaluation, and of course C will be clarity and confidence. So when they reach C, the entire framework, they will be very clear and confident about the decision they're making. So what I'm offering them is basically the clarity with the information and advice to make the right decision.
Love that. Okay. Last big question before we wrap up. If you could get one idea into the heads of every homeowner in Singapore right now, what would it be?
What would it be? I would say it's my tagline, clarity before commitment. Yeah. So if you're thinking to buy, if you're thinking to sell and buy, whichever stage in your property journey or in life you are in, making a decision is not always that simple. There are a lot of factors in play. So the key thing is that you need to be presented with the right information and the right advice to make the best decision you have, so that it's a big financial decision to buy and sell a property. So someone experienced in the industry will be able to offer a better perspective compared to any homeowners or buyers who have not been in the property market. It will give a more professional and experienced point of view.
That's really valuable. And Jason, for anyone watching who wants to go deeper, whether they're thinking about upgrading, restructuring their portfolio, or they just want a second opinion on a decision they're sitting on, where's the best place to reach you?
Well, I'm available online. What I'm trying to say is that if you search my name, Jason Tan YJ or Jason Tan Yongjun online, you'll be able to find me. I'm pretty searchable. So key thing is, so my name, Jason Tan YJ, that is my social media handle. My website is jasontanYJ.com. So I'll be able to reach via the online method. In fact, my number is also easily searchable online.
And that's a wrap on today's panel. What I love about Jason's approach is that he's not here to sell you a property. He's here to help you think clearly about one of the biggest financial decisions of your life. So if that resonates with you, go find him. The links are below. We'll see you soon. Thank you